COBRA has been at the forefront of innovation and advancing technology, and the guy that has helped move that along, one of the guys,
One of the guys, team member. Yes.
Right, Mike Yagley, research, innovation, and testing here at COBRA. I wanted to talk to you because I think it's just fascinating to look at technology and where it's gone and where it continues to go. And one of the biggest topics, for me at least, one of the most fascinating is 3D printing. That we've seen 3D printing in other industries and other fields, but it's moved into golf, especially here at COBRA. You launched the limited irons, 3D printed. Just to start, how do you even think of an idea like that you could even pull it off and make it work in a golf club?
It's funny you ask. So literally in this room, before it looked like this, like 12 years ago, we sat here with a couple of companies that were doing 3D printing. And it was pretty exotic stuff at the time. It was very expensive. The first stuff we 3D printed was kind of an abomination. Like, you look at it and go, that's a golf club, but I don't know if I really want to hit it.
Right.
And it might not have been durable and super expensive. Like, literally, if we had printed that limited set of irons back then and we could get it to work, it might have been a $15,000 to $20,000 set of irons.
Sure.
Like, that expensive.
Yeah.
But the dream started right there. We're like, okay, it's possible. We're printing steel. They might print titanium at the time, someday, right? And we're looking at it going, all right, so what would we do with it? And first of all, we just like, well, if we could print our prototypes, which means we can get the prototypes done a lot faster than making a tool. To make a tool, it could take months. And if it's a casting tool, you're making this thing, it takes a couple months to make. You inject some wax in there, you turn that into a slurry-covered mold that you pour steel into. That whole process takes a long time.
Yeah.
We looked at it and said, heck, we could print these things and get them a lot faster. So that really condensed the time to prototype, to innovate, to research, to understand. In the middle of all that, we're like, the price is coming down, coming down a lot. Kind of like the TV that used to be on your wall that was $10,000, now it's $1,000.
Yeah.
It's coming down. And there was a point, an inflection point, as you might say, we could actually sell this thing. And that was the moment when, oh, we've got something here. We already had been testing with a lot of our tour players and better players and a lot of prototype stuff, but we hadn't said to ourselves, what if we make a set? Like, make a set for players that, like, you or I could go play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was probably like 2 years ago.
And so when you start that process of, it's one thing to say, okay, we could 3D print a golf club, but it's another to have to design it. And like you said, structurally, it has to work. What all went into that process of, again, how do you do that? I'm not that smart to think of that, but if you look at the inside with it, I think we're going to show the inside of the club on video. It's very different than what you'd expect.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point from a design standpoint of this is durable, this is actually going to work?
Great question. So we were thinking to ourselves, we could forge really good clubs. We can cast really good clubs, but what can we do with 3D printing that you can't do with forging or casting? And the first thing was like, we can put internal structures, basically inside, that's redundant, inside the head that can support the face, can move a lot of mass, and still have that thing feel like it's solid. And that was the kicker. That's when we went, oh boy, we really have something here. So we were able to put a lattice on the inside. It was Ryan Roach, Drew Whited, and a few other guys that worked on this. It's like they optimized this internal structure, and you'll see it as you look at the images. And it's basically, it's a lattice on the inside that touches the back of the inside of the iron and the front of the face of there. Well, the front of the back, right? So it's touching everything on the inside. So it behaves as if it's solid. Because a forged iron feels really good because it's solid, it's stiff, its frequency is really high, it feels solid. You're mostly hearing the ball contact.
Sure.
You're not hearing a loud reverberation like you might hear with the hollow structure. So that lattice provides enough stiffness to make it feel really good. Now you've got 100 grams to play with. So imagine on a 275 gram head, if you've got 100 grams.
We're normally talking about 5 grams, 3 grams.
We get super excited over a gram sometimes.
Right.
The guys and gals in innovation and research and design, it's like, we found a gram, yay! It's 100 flipping grams.
Yep.
So now you take that and put it in the form of tungsten in the heel and the toe really low, and you've driven the center of gravity down, which now you've heard us and many other companies talk about. Low CG helps get the ball up, okay? And you've just increased the moment of inertia by a lot.
Yeah.
So you've got this thing, and it's happened in this room right here. I've said nothing to players. It's like the greatest thing you can do. Here, hit this. And they look at it and they go, looks like a blade. And they hit about 4 or 5 of them. These are really good players.
Right.
And they hit them right in the middle. They're like, feels like a blade. What is it? I say nothing,
Yeah.
right? And then they might miss hit one. And they go, I didn't lose 25 yards. What is this thing?
Yeah.
And they said, you said it was forged. They said, I didn't say anything, right? And one guy turns around, he goes, he's mad. He goes, this isn't forged, is it? I said, no. And he goes, I'm pissed, okay? So there's a moment, and I've had this moment several times in my career, where literally you have to say nothing. And they turn around and they look at you like, what is this? And we've kind of coined a term, it's like paradoxical reaction.
Sure.
The looks like a blade, feels like a blade, right? Flies like a blade, but it's not a blade. What is this thing? And it's a glorious moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've hit that club, and you're right. Looking down at it, you feel like it's a blade, and then you hit it, and it just feels different. I think people have to experience what it actually feels like.
Yes. Yeah.
With that, so you get the testing part of it, and you hear that kind of feedback. As an innovator, as a researcher, what does that do for you to know that you've struck gold?
Just totally jacked up.
Yeah.
You can't help but like giggle, laugh.
Sure.
And then on top of it, I'm sitting here thinking while we're doing all this, I'm like, we can make a better one.
Yes.
We could make a better one potentially for that player, or maybe that one's like perfect for them. But now we know we can make better clubs for other types of players. Because as you know, there's blades through super game improvement irons and everything in between.
Right.
So now we have an opportunity to do all sorts of wonderful things for players.
Well, that's what I was going to ask too. Great segue is with 3D printing and the capabilities that you have with that, combined with the fitting process. Now with the hosel that you just developed, the loft and lie angle options.